We're here with the newly crowned lightweight champ, Paul the Irish Dragon Felder, who's coming off a big win over Mark Stevens at Cage Fury 33. First of all, Paul, congratulations. How does it feel to finally be the champ?
It feels really good, man. You know, it was a long, hard training camp. We did about 10 weeks for this fight. Busted our butt, and it was just an unbelievable feeling, especially here in Philly, to get that belt in front of all my friends and family.
Awesome. Now, the last fight was a pretty big step up in competition for you. Mark Stevens had 23 total professional fights compared to your 6. He fought in the bigger promotions like Bellator and Strikeforce. There was a lot more than usual on the line, with it being the title fight, a little bit more pressure. Did you do anything different to prepare for the fight?
Yeah, like I said, we did a longer camp. I usually do, almost always do 8 weeks, and this time I did probably closer to 10 or 12 weeks. The first couple weeks being just making sure I'm back in shape, and then for 10 weeks we pretty much went pretty hard. I also kind of just upped my strength and conditioning. We did a lot more sprint work because it was a 5-round fight versus a 3-round fight. So pretty much anything that we did in training was 5 rounds. If we were shark tanking me with different guys coming in, instead of it being 3 or 4 rounds, everything was geared towards 5-minute rounds, and the intensity was there.
Alright, so the one area of your game that I see you improve was your ground game, actually. When you took Stevens back and you kind of had him in a slight rear naked choke, it almost seemed for a second like you were going to pick up your first submission win there. Even though he got out of it, that was still pretty impressive when you consider the fact that he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and usually you're looked at as primarily a stand-up fighter. Yeah. Now, we know that you train out of the Renzo Gracie Academy here in Philly, and if I'm not mistaken, Daniel Gracie is your Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu coach. Is that something that you've been working on lately, your ground game?
Yeah, ever since I switched schools from Brazen to Renzo Gracie Philly under Daniel Gracie, he really kind of embraced me, took me in, and he could see that I had potential to have a solid ground game. I kind of worked on basic wrestling, and most of my fights before this, it was kind of like, just don't let him take you down. Don't let him take you down. Stand with the guy.
Just brawl.
This was the first time where I really felt, no matter what happens, especially with MMA, and it wasn't just a jiu-jitsu match. I mean, obviously, if me and Stevens had a grappling match, he would probably maybe outpoint me. I'm not a black belt, but I knew with MMA, and I felt comfortable off my back. I felt good everywhere. Daniel's just an incredible jiu-jitsu coach and an MMA coach, and I was so pumped when I sunk in that choke, man. I really thought I had him, and
it was real close. I mean,
but you know what? In the end, getting the TKO is kind of what I do anyway, and I think it's exciting for the fans, and hopefully the UFC is looking for that kind of stand and bang kind of
finish it. So I see that on Twitter you've been kind of rallying your fans to tweet the UFC president Dana White. Speaking of the UFC, in order to get on that July 19th fight card in Dublin, Ireland. Is that the next move for you, the UFC, and also what is the significance personally for you as a guy of Irish heritage for getting on that card in Dublin, Ireland?
Well, I mean, yeah, the next step is to try to get that call, and we're doing everything we can to kind of throw stuff on Twitter and Facebook and kind of beg Dana White to give me my chance, and to fight in Dublin for my first UFC fight would be overwhelming, even though I'm not actually from Ireland. Here in America, we all talk about what's your heritage, where you're from. We all say, oh, I'm Italian, I'm Russian, I'm Irish. So it'd kind of be fun to go over there as an Irish American and fight an Irish guy over there and throw down and put on a show, even though I'd probably get booed because to them they're like
classic patty.
Classic patty is what they already called me in the one.
No, what a great entrance to come out to in Ireland though.
Yeah, I think if they gave me a shot, I could really, just with my style, get the Irish fans on my side. I
think they love that. They love the standing back.
Yeah, it would be like they'd boo me for a little bit, and then when they saw me throw down and then they'd probably get behind me. So.
Yeah. I was just sitting here looking at you. I see that you're a pretty big guy, especially for a lightweight. I mean, there aren't that many people your size and height in the weight class. But how's the weight cut? Like, are you looking to stay at lightweight, or maybe in the future move up to welterweight?
I mean, we've talked about certain fights, especially when I first started picking up fights at 170. But now at the level that I'm starting to get into, I'm definitely going to stay at 155. You know, there's lightweights that are even bigger than me walking around 100 and, you know.
Not many, man.
Not too many. You know, one of them who I've trained with a few times, Donald Cerrone, he's like 6'1", you know, walks around at about the same weight. But it's not an easy cut, but I've done it 7 times now as a professional. You know, the next one coming up, it'll be 8 for me. It's 8 weight cuts, and it gets a little easier every time. It's just, you know, figuring out how your body works and you know what you have to eat the week of weigh-ins and stuff like that. I mean, I stayed pretty big for most of the fight camp, and then just the last week we really no carbs and, you know, egg whites and spinach and, you know, asparagus and pretty much no red meat or anything like that. So
now you mentioned Don Cerrone. Speaking of him and just the UFC lightweight division in general, it has a lot of great guys with some pretty impressive resumes. You know, like Nate Diaz, Gray Maynard, Diego Sanchez, TJ Grant, just to name a few. Some people may say that, you know, as a champion of a smaller promotion, you're going to be going from a big fish in a small pond to kind of like a small fish going into an ocean full of sharks. Yeah. You know? So how do you personally feel that you stack up against those types of guys?
I think there's quite a few guys that I could really have just an epic fight with, and I think that I'm getting there. I'm on their level, and I think it's just a matter of this fight really gave me the confidence to really believe in myself that I think it's time that I step up my competition. Not that there's not regional guys that are tough as nails that I could, you know, that could beat me on any given day, but I think just with the amount of finishes and stuff that I've gotten, I think I want to be, you know, the little fish in the big pond.
And work your way up.
It's all right with me. I don't mind being the little guy and the newcomer. This is why I'm doing this, is to fight for the UFC. I mean, that's why anybody that's doing MMA is lying if they say they don't want to fight in the UFC. I mean, yeah, you know what I mean? So yeah, I want that opportunity, and hopefully I'll get it. If not this one, you know, I'll be defending the belt in June back here in Philly, and that's fine. If I have to do 1, 2, 5 more fights, I'm going to keep going until
hopefully I get UFC, of course, is the ultimate goal.
Of course, yeah, 100%.
All right, now you're a proud Philly native. Right now, we're doing an interview from your home in the middle of South Philly. You have a ton of supporters here in Philly, you know, including the CFFC owner, Rob Haydak, who's kind of like the Dana White of this area.
Yeah.
And of course, that's a promotion that you're the new champion of. If you do make it in the UFC, are you planning to stay in Philly, or would you like to move a little bit closer to Vegas, which is, of course, the home of the UFC?
Honestly, I'll probably just stay here because of Daniel Gracie and, you know, my support at Henzo Gracie Philly, Jonathan Webb, Sean Brady. You know, I got Jordan Steiner at Henzo PA, and just a ton of teammates here. And the other thing is, you never know when they're going to call you. You never know where they're going to send you. So, you know, wherever you're going to fight for them, they're going to make sure you're there anyway. So, I mean, I could be right here in Philly, and I could fight in Brazil if they call me, you know, and that's not going to need to change where my, you know, home base is. So I'll probably stay here, and you know, I love being a fighter that's from Philadelphia. You know, when people think of boxing and tough fighters, Philly's just one of the first cities that people think of. So it's kind of, you know, it's a fighting city, and I love it. So I'll stay here.
Awesome. Now, one thing that everybody may actually not know about you is that you're not just an MMA fighter, you're actually an actor. You went to acting school, you've been in theater plays. I mean, if you go to YouTube and look up your name, there's like interviews of you for Sylvia and stuff like that. I mean, both are pretty demanding careers. How do you balance the two? Or is that something you're trying to pursue also, or have you just kind of put it on the back burner while you're doing MMA?
It's exactly what it is. Right now, I put it on the back burner. When I first went pro a few years ago, I would do a fight, then go and kind of on a hiatus and do a play, and it was that I was getting offers for fights when I was doing shows, and I was getting offers for shows when I was in the middle of a fight camp. And you really can't, the way theater works and plays and stuff, it's kind of like a fight camp, to be honest with you. You got to take like 4 or 5 weeks of your time and just rehearse the show, and then you do the show. You know, you can't do both. And when I started really, it was right when I got to 4-0, when I fought Ricky Nuno. Right after that fight, I did a show. Yeah. And even during the show, it was a great experience, and it went really well. But the whole time, I was just kind of thinking, man, I could be training for a fight and be going for 5-0 right now. And then when I went 5-0, it was like I kind of stopped. Yeah. After I fought Corey Bleak, and I was like, all right, holy crap, I'm 5-0 now. You know, when I first started this thing, like any other fighter will tell you, it's like, you know, you do it and you're going to bust your ass and hopefully you'll make it, but you never really know if it's going to happen. And then by the time I got to 5-0 and then started fighting guys like Julian Lane and now Mark Stevens, I can't kind of take 2 months, 3 months at a time and not train. Like I have, even now, you know, I just fought, I'm still training. I went and grappled today. I'm going to go grapple tomorrow. I'm not in camp yet, but I'm staying active. I have to keep sharpening my tools and like working with Daniel, and yeah, I have to be on the level with these black belts and these guys that are, you know, world champion jiu-jitsu fighters. So when it's all said and done, I would definitely want to go back to it and try to hopefully have built my name as a fighter and use that to maybe, you know, get into some film work and stuff. But for right now, it's all fighting.
Another thing I want to ask you, you actually mentioned, you know, that you want to be on the level with the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belts and stuff like that. What belt are you now?
I got my blue belt, I think like three months ago or so.
You're a blue belt, but you're a Gracie blue belt, so that's kind of, you know, that's a little different than.
Yeah, and you know, I've been doing jiu-jitsu with different schools, and you know, just training for a long time. Even as a pro fighter, I was still, you know, a white belt.
Yeah. And
now I'm finally with, you know, a high level, one of, you know, pretty much as high as you can get.
Yeah.
With Daniel, and he, you know, he stays on top of me. He makes sure I put the gi on, and you know, I train just straight up jiu-jitsu, not MMA, just learning jiu-jitsu, and it's helped my grappling so much, putting the gi on and really just breaking everything down. So
that's why I just kind of wanted to put the emphasis on that, because you know, a lot of people say black belt, but you could be like a different type of black belt, you know what I mean? And like a blue belt from Renzo Gracie's academy could be like a black belt with 3 stripes from, you know, a local
some Joe out of nowhere.
Joe Schmo, right? Exactly. All right, Paul. Thank you for the interview. We appreciate it. Hopefully, the next time we see you, you're going to be on TV.
Amen.
And you know, is there anything else? Any last words you want to say to people watching at home?
Well, I just, you know, want to thank you guys for taking your time and showing interest, and you know, push all over Twitter and my Facebook. Like my Facebook, you know, Paul the Irish Dragon Felder. You know, follow me on Twitter. Really push that Dana White thing. If not, you know, support Cage Fury Fighting Championships. It's the best organization, in my opinion, outside of the UFC. And you know, hopefully I'll be fighting in the big show. If not, my fight will be on Comcast in a couple weeks. You guys can watch it and see all the other great fighters that fought that night as well.
Definitely. Absolutely, man. Good luck with everything.
Thanks, guys.